Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is doomed from day one. New information has come out that has affirmed that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is in the most unfavorable of positions of all Dragon Ball games. Of course, I did my own legwork to find this out, and looking at the very reason coming from the publisher as to why Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is doomed. Now, of course, we have proof of that. When I told you that the roster was not going to be this gigantic roster that they tried to sell you on, I told you the truth. I was not one of these hype channels. Of course, you saw them try to push back and go back and do some revisionist history and change the language of their sales pitch from being a ginormous roster to just being, oh yeah, it's an incredible roster, I guess, you know. And of course, we come to find out that there's only 164 characters, most of which are clones of Goku and Vegeta. But it goes even further than that, because when you look at the gameplay sizzle trailers, which are supposed to be manicured and they're supposed to be checked and they're supposed to be fast paced to show you all the action of the game, what did we end up finding out? But the game is full of bugs and glitches already. And of course, people want to ignore it, like, it's a work in progress, bro, it's gonna be okay. Well, going in and doing the detective work, we find out why Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is in a doomed state. And it all has to do with the publisher, Namco Bandai. Now, of course, I know a lot of people are scratching their heads. What does Namco Bandai have anything to do with any of this? Bandai Namco is pretty much gained a reputation for being one of the worst publishers for anime games, period, but particularly Dragon Ball games. Now, I would have never guessed. Of course, I thought that Dragon Ball was their money maker, and it is. And what I did, I researched on Twitter, Reddit, different social media web pages, and found out that the reason that you don't get top tier support in Xenoverse 2 is not that the developers are lazy. It's all to do with Bandai Namco. When you look at the state, and this is the major part here, when you look at the state of Dragon Ball FighterZ, that glorious rollback netcode that I got added, right? And the fallout from that was hilarious. It broke the game. Memes were created after the rollback netcode update, but because of how bad things got. You had multiple character models like shadow cloning on the screen. You had glitches, characters freezing, the effects ruined, and you have to wonder why. Well, hold up. Why is it that the developers are allowing this to be? And really, it's because a lot of these developers have secretly and quietly stepped away from the games because of the dealings to do with Bandai Namco. A lot of your current Dragon Ball games are not even being supported by the ones who started it all. They're being supported by secret third-party entities or Namco Bandai themselves. This explains why Xenoverse 2 doesn't get fixed, why we don't have the kick button back, why we don't have better servers, why they're not dealing with the modding issue in Xenoverse 2, and we're still waiting on that, and we're not getting multiple DLC packs. They're eking out one, and it all has to do with that almighty dollar. They're only willing to pay a little bit, but they expect all these sales to keep coming in. Xenoverse 2 selling 10 million plus copies and going. Dragon Ball FighterZ, it matched the 10 million units, but they want to pay bottom of the barrel price for top tier profits. And this is why your Dragon Ball games are in a substandard state of condition. Of course, Xenoverse 2, it's expected a DLC pack. We've got no marketing, no V-jump scans, no nothing, no news affirming Ultra Ego Vegeta, which that's what we all know is coming. We know Ultra Ego Vegeta is coming to Xenoverse 2, but no marketing, no nothing, no V-jump scans, no multiple DLC packs. This is why we've been reduced down to one, maybe two a year if we're lucky. When the game has enough content, the franchise, the IP has enough content to produce more, we're not getting more. And you look over to Dragon Ball FighterZ, a lot of people were asking why more DLC wasn't coming for that. Why they've been dropping that game altogether. And it's because ArcSys had enough and they stepped away from the game. They had enough of Bandai Namco. and they stepped away. And then I looked into other franchises like Gundam. Gundam has just been treated like the red-headed stepchild of Bandai Namco games. They get carted out because the Gundam property is really popular and they don't get any real support. They try to make it perform at esports despite not paying for more content to keep people and players interested in the game, and that's how they've soured the entire anime development team for games. All that stuff, every development team. CC2, I'm surprised they're not burnt out, but then again, they did announce that they were done with Naruto Storm series and they weren't going to do anymore. So it's in a terrible place for all anime games. But in particular, Dragon Ball games are in a terrible spot as an anime game, and that has all to do with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So this explains as to why we started seeing glitches right off the bat for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Name a time when you've actually seen glitches in a sizzle trailer. Name it. Go ahead, show me show proof. Put a link in the comment section. When have you seen glitches in sizzle trailers and promotional material for other Dragon Ball games? You can't find it. But this year, when everything is unraveling and we're finding out as to why we are getting poor content, poor release schedules, poor servers, not enough features, not enough eye candy, not anything. It's all to do with Bandai Namco. Do not go against the development team. They are not being paid. That is what I am finding out. The more research I'm doing, is coming out that the development teams are not being paid enough. They're getting scratch, chump change. So when I almost feel sorry that I ever went at Dims. I am, because if you're not being paid and you're being paid to barely slap pencil to paper, to slap down mouse cursor to computer, I can see why we've been treated the way that we've been treated. I see now we're not getting better servers, not because they can't do it or that they won't do it. It's that they're not being paid enough to do it. Now, I would argue that if you put your name on anything, that you do it just to upkeep your name, but even that gets tired at a certain point if you're not getting paid what you're worth. So I can respect that. I can respect if you're not being paid what you're worth. I can respect you having some form of an attitude with the company. And Namco Bandai is driving these people off. So then I have to ask the question of Akio Yoku, who just became in charge of Capsule Corp Games. What was that company? Capsule Corp Tokyo. He's in charge of all the video games and the movies and the whatnot. What does he intend to do about Bandai Namco? Because they're not representing the intellectual property right. I mean, this explains why everything has been down to a drip, to a trickle. Why content is not coming out at a good enough pace. There's enough characters to still add to Xenoverse 2. There's enough content to still add. There's enough content to be put in the base game of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero that might attract more people, more than 164 characters worth. This is bigger than just trying to get some Dragon Ball Hero characters in DLC. This is about just getting basics met, like good servers and multiple features. But wow, I did not know that things were this bad as it regards Dragon Ball games. So let me know what you think. I will keep my eyes and ears to the ground and see what I can find to get you guys some more information, to let you guys know what's actually going on. But yes, it is actually all at the fault of Bandai Namco. We can quit blaming the devs. It is not the fault of the devs. It is all the publisher's fault. They are not being paid what they're worth.